Hello, everybody, and welcome to more Political Excess. Today, let's do another hypothetical 2024 presidential matchup. This was suggested by somebody in the comments. So let's do Howard Stern for the Democrats and Donald Trump for the Republicans. This is pretty outlandish, and I will admit it's very hard to predict a lot of these states. I'm going to assume Stern would run a reasonably serious campaign, and in a lot of ways, he would be the Democratic opposite. He would try to have a populist appeal and messaging. He does have a lot of outrageous things he said in his past that would come into play. Depending on how Stern plays it, his working class appeal could fall a little bit flatter than he would like. So we'll see how it goes. Let's go through this. Safe states are over a 10-point margin, likely 5 to 10 points, lean under 5 points, tilt 1 point or less. I'm sure you're going to disagree with some of these states. That's perfectly fine. But let's start in Alaska. I have that as safe for Donald Trump. I don't think Stern is going to have a lot of appeal up in Alaska. If Trump can beat Biden by 10, I think he could beat Stern by 10. Hawaii, it's hilarious to say this, but that would be very, very safe for Howard Stern. Up to the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, those I think would be safe for Howard Stern. I think in some of these bluer states, especially Oregon and Washington, the margins would be a little bit reduced. I think a lot of the suburbs would be kind of put off by both Stern and Trump, so it would be all about who's more motivated to turn out, and you can make a case either way. Some of Howard Stern's fans, especially from back in the day in the 80s and the 90s, a lot of those I think are Trump voters at this point. So Stern might resonate some in the red counties. He might not do as awesome in the blue counties, but I do believe Stern would do well in the blue, wealthier, more educated areas. So let's go to Nevada. That I have as a lean for Donald Trump. My reasoning is Nevada is not necessarily trending to the left. It's more working class. And I think those voters around Las Vegas, even in the rural areas, would be more inclined to turn out for someone like Donald Trump, and they would connect a little bit less with someone like Howard Stern, who's more associated with the East Coast, and I think Trump would eke out a 2 to 3 point win there. Idaho and Utah still would be safe for Donald Trump. I don't think Stern would be able to get a lot of these red states under a 10-point margin. Arizona, I'm going to give it to Donald Trump by a lean margin. There's not a great reason behind it. I just think Stern would have a little bit less of an appeal in that part of the country. It would cost him a couple of points, and Trump would end up winning it. Up to Montana and Wyoming, safe red for Donald Trump. Colorado, that's going to be likely for Howard Stern. I don't think Stern would do too bad in a state like Colorado. He would be off-putting for a certain segment of the population. Just as I said, some of those people would also be put off by Donald Trump. I think Stern's personality, as well as his coastal presence, I think that would play well in and around Denver and some of those other scattered blue counties. And Stern would win that easily, probably by high single digits. New Mexico, that'll be a lean for Howard Stern. It's a fairly blue state, but I don't think Stern would resonate well, and it would be by under 5 points. North Dakota, South Dakota, safe for Trump. Nebraska at large, safe for Trump. The 2nd District with Omaha, it's a few more points to the right now after redistricting. That is a tilt for Trump. I don't think this district would be enthused about voting for either of these candidates. Trump won it in 2016 when it was bluer, and I think he would be able to win that by under 1 point, even against Howard Stern. Kansas and Oklahoma, that'll be safe for Trump. Texas, gotta go likely for Trump. Stern is going to do awesome in Austin. I don't think Trump is going to do that poorly. He's going to get all of his base out. Those red counties are going to turn out for him. They're not really going to flip and go to Stern much. I think Trump would win that by at least 5 points, maybe even 7 to 8. Up to Minnesota. Tough state, as I always say. I'm going lean for Stern, probably 4 or 5 points. But given the history of the state, got to give it to Stern. Iowa, that will be safe for Trump. I don't see a lot of the farmers coming out and voting for Stern. Trump is already well established. He's already ran. He's already been president. People know what he's all about. I think Stern would be too much of a wild card for some of these redder areas to flip and vote for him. So Trump carries that by 10 or 11 points. Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, safe for Trump. Up to Wisconsin, that is going to be a lean for Trump. This is a state trending a little bit to the right, and I think given Stern and his history, just a bit more people would be willing to stay home and not support him, and that would give Trump an edge by a couple of points. Illinois, safe for Stern. Up to Michigan. Tough call. I went tilt for Donald Trump. It's one of those classic Rust Belt states that has trended toward the right, but hasn't just quite solidified that status yet. But with somebody like Stern, I think it would be a net gain of about 1% for someone like Donald Trump, and he would narrowly carry that state. Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, safe for Donald Trump. Down to Florida, that would be Trump's home state. That's going to be a lean for Trump, probably 3 to 4, maybe even 5 points. It's a state that's gotten a little bit consistently redder, and I don't see Stern flipping a lot of those Trump voters or boosting up those blue areas to support him. Let's do Georgia. Tough call. That is a tilt for Howard Stern. Those suburbs around Atlanta, they've already shifted toward the left, and even if some of them don't want to turn out for Stern, it would still be enough for him to hold that by about a half a point. South Carolina, still safe for Donald Trump. North Carolina, I have as a lean for Donald Trump. That could only be 1.5 points, maybe 2.5 points. But I don't see Stern overly resonating in a state like North Carolina, and Trump would be able to hold that. Let's go up to Ohio. That is a likely for Donald Trump. That's going to be tough no matter who is running for the Democrats at this point. Some of those blue-collar counties would actually find Stern a little bit appealing. And I think if this were 20 years ago, they actually would vote for him. But at this point, I think the social and cultural issues are going to be too much for Stern to really get it under 5 points, and Trump would win that easily. West Virginia would be safe for Trump. Let's go up to the Northeast and do Maine. At large, likely for Stern. First district is going to still be deep blue and safe for Howard Stern. The second district, that I have is a lean for Trump. That's a tough call. It's trended toward the right. It could be a likely margin. I think the working class voters looking for a populist message would be more susceptible in Maine's second district to someone like Howard Stern than they would be in Ohio, and they could get it to just about a 5-point win for Trump. New Hampshire, that is going to be a tilt for Howard Stern. I think Stern will do better in the Northeast. He's from that area. We already know Trump could not win New Hampshire. It'd be close either way, but I'm going to give the edge to Stern. Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, safe for Howard Stern. New Jersey, I'm still going to say safe for Howard Stern. Delaware, Maryland, safe for Stern. D.C., safe for Stern. Let's not forget about Pennsylvania. Very tough call. I have that as a tilt for Howard Stern. Considering everything with the suburbs, those red counties, those blue cities, I'm going to say Stern would win that by under 1 point, probably only by 1/10 of a point. But you could make a case that that goes either way. Finally, Virginia, that'll be likely for Howard Stern. Stern is not really part of the political establishment, given he's not a politician. However, I think mostly over the last decade or so, his views have more or less aligned with the Democratic establishment. So that is my map, and that would result in 278 electoral votes for Donald Trump, 260 for Howard Stern. Donald Trump would very narrowly win this election. But of course, it would come down to the issues at the time, vice presidents, how they run their campaigns, how their past controversial statements factor in. Trump has pretty much been vetted through and through. Stern, I'm sure he has a few more skeletons in his closet, and it's very hypothetical. It would be a spirited battle, but I think Trump would pull it out. But you could make a case the other way in 3 or 4 of these states. So let me know down below in the comments, do you mostly agree with this map, or do you think I completely blew it? Please do let me know, and if you enjoyed this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.